Welcome to W&L Sports Weekly. I'm Jeremy Franklin. This week we'll speak with men's swimming captain Alex Cram, men's basketball player Andy Kleinlein, and wrestler Matt Kaminer. But first, a quick look back at the weekend in Washington and Lee athletics. Baseball opened up the year with the doubleheader sweep of Marymount up in Washington, D.C., beating the Saints 11-8 and 3-1. Riding finished 7th at the Randolph-Lynchburg Invitational and then tied for first at Sweetbriar. At Ursinus Colden Invitational in track and field, Max Strahler won the 3,000 meters while the women's team set 8 career bests. Back in Lexington, wrestling dropped Centennial Conference matches to NYU and Stevens. Women's basketball lost 65-59 on the road against Lynchburg, while men's basketball took number 5 Randolph-Bank into overtime before falling 82-77 at the Warner Center. I'm joined now by Andy Kleinlein, sophomore basketball player from Chesterfield, Missouri. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Washington and Lee had a tough start to the season. The Generals took a 7-game losing streak into fall term exams and the holidays, but you bounced back, stayed competitive in the ODAC. You took Macon to overtime. You've beaten teams like Eastern Mennonite and Hampton-Sydney. How much have the Generals improved over the course of the season?
We've improved a lot. It actually was pretty good timing. After our 7-game losing streak, it was winter break, so we kind of got that time to evaluate how we are as a team and how we need to improve. And ever since then, we just sort of refocused, got back to the basics, and figured if we play hard, then everything else will flow from that. And we've just tried to focus every day on playing hard and coming focused.
All 5 of W&L's ODAC victories have come in the Warner Center, but 3 of your 4 final games are on the road. What do the Generals need to do to pick up some wins away from home?
We just really need to show up and be ready to play, take care of the ball, focus on defense, do all the little things right, and really feed off the energy from, ourselves, the bench. It's going to just come from ourselves.
You're currently first in the ODAC in free throw percentage, hitting more than 90% of your attempts on the season. What has contributed to your success at the foul line?
That's something I've practiced every day for probably the past 10 years. I like to get up at least 50 free throws a day. It's something I feel like can be pretty easy for most players if you just take the time to do it. And so I just focus on that every day.
Seeding doesn't mean everything in the ODAC tournament. Looking back to last year, the Generals were 11th and made it all the way to the conference semifinals. What are the team's goals as you approach this year's postseason?
Well, seeding could actually matter a lot this year for us, especially since we've been successful at home. We would really like to finish, as high as we could possibly be in the standings, because if we get a home game the first round, that's a huge advantage for us. And then from there, easier matchups. We'd still love to get a first-round bye, finish top 4. It's possible as long as we finish the season how we want. But, we want to finish as high as we possibly can.
Andy, thanks for joining us here. Best of luck the rest of the year.
All right, thanks for having me.
Here with me now is Alex Cram, senior swimming captain from Columbia, South Carolina. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What did the team's performances in January tell you about the Generals' chances to have a successful postseason?
We've done great in January, but we like to look at it as a season from the whole. We had a huge upset versus Mary Wash really early in the season and back in November, and that just started us off really hot, and we just carried that momentum throughout the season. We're looking forward to a successful finish at ODACs.
I'll pose the same question to you that I asked women's captain Caroline Hamp on last week's show. After 3 years with the combined men's and women's program, how has that transition benefited Washington and Lee swimming?
Looking back on it now, I can't imagine it without the girls. I think the transition happened around halfway through my freshman year, and it just brings such a great aspect. Having the girls on the pool deck with us, it's much more lively, and it's great to make closer friends with the girls. I remember when we were segregated my freshman year, the guys didn't really know the girls team. They didn't interact with the girls team as much, and now we're very close-knit.
There are 22 underclassmen on the Generals' 27-man roster. How much improvement have you seen from the first years and sophomores in particular since October?
Oh, man. Huge improvement. They're awesome. When students come into W&L freshman and sophomore year, they tend to be loose cannons a little bit. You're not really sure what to expect from them, but this group of guys has been great. It's been really easy to be their captain, along with Harris Pritchard. He'll say the same thing, my co-captain, and they've been awesome. They work hard, they're hungry, they are really looking forward to ODAC championships.
Speaking of the ODAC championship meet, Washington and Lee will be a heavy favorite to claim the first ever men's swimming title later on this week down in Greensboro. What do the Generals need to do to make that happen?
It's not going to be a walk in the park. Our main competitor, Randy Mack, they're good. They got some great guys. Their top guys are very competitive with our top guys. But we're a deep team. We have a really well-rounded team. And if everybody shows up and does their job, we should be all right. And we hope to win the first ODAC championship.
Alex, thanks for joining us here. Good luck at the ODAC championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
With me in the studio now is Matt Kaminer, first-year wrestler from Hewlett, New York. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You've gone 20-11 so far during your rookie season. How have you been able to make a successful adjustment to wrestling at the college level?
I think that the most important aspect of transferring to college wrestling out of high school is having a competitive room and guys that are pushing you every day. I think the guys that I'm working with, Evan Keith and Ron Tassoni, Bennett Lewis and Sal Diaz, are all in practice forcing me to push myself physically and adjust my wrestling and think on my feet. And now when I'm getting into those tough matches and tournaments and dual meets, I'm used to that position and I'm not unfamiliar with those tough scenarios.
What factors led you to attend Washington and Lee and to join the wrestling team here?
It was actually on a recruiting visit at a different school where a coach had said to me, if you want to be successful, especially in the sport of wrestling, you want to surround yourself with people who are passionate about what they're doing. And it was when I visited W&L that I found that both in the academic setting and in the wrestling room, I'm going to be surrounded by people who are going to be pushing me to be passionate about wrestling and about academics and keep me pushing toward my goals. And I feel like Coach Shear and Coach Wilson have done just that in the wrestling rooms as well as my teammates. And I felt that pressure in a positive way also in the classroom.
You're one of 8 first years on a roster of 12. What can your class do to have a long-term impact on Washington and Lee's program?
I think what the issue has been in the past years has been retention of freshmen. In this sport, it's very rigorous. It's so hard to keep numbers. But I think this is going to be an anomaly out of most years in that I think all 8 of us have experienced our own level of success, and we're all internally motivated to come back next year, work in the offseason, and improve, and in turn work to bring in freshman classes that can equalize what we've been doing this year and kind of develop, as opposed to putting freshmen in positions where they were not successful, where we've been taking those positions and heading with a full head of steam.
What can the Generals accomplish at the Centennial Conference Championship this weekend?
I think despite some of our injuries, we can do extremely well. I think our starters can all place. I think as far as myself, I'm going in expecting to win. I know Ron and Bennett and most of our starters are expecting to go in and do extremely well. And we're definitely a tournament team that all 7 guys will be entering, which is less than the usual 10, are expecting to go in and really make some noise.
Matt, thanks for joining us here. Best of luck at the conference meet.
Thank you.
It's time now for a look at the upcoming weekend. Men's and women's swimming will compete in the ODAC Championship meet, which runs from Friday through Sunday in Greensboro. Men's lacrosse kicks off its 2015 schedule on Friday against Christopher Newport, while the women's team opens up against the Captains on the road on Saturday. Also Saturday, wrestling heads to McDaniel for the Centennial Conference Championship. Men's and women's track and field will travel to the Susquehanna Invitational, and riding will compete at Bridgewater. Back in Lexington, baseball plays host to Marymount in a doubleheader at Capendick-Smith Field, and men's basketball welcomes in 5th-ranked Virginia Wesleyan. Women's basketball hits the road to face Bridgewater, and women's tennis begins its spring schedule at Division I Elon. For W&L Sports Weekly, I'm Jeremy Franklin. Thanks for watching.